I'm wearing it right now. It possibly will be the only time. But we just come back, as you may recall, from a trip to Vanuatu. This was the shirt I was given over there, and I said to them, that's going to be difficult to wear that shirt. But here we are. Just a very brief report. We've got a few minutes in the service later on. How can I summarise this in just 2 minutes? As I will say later, this trip was a testimony to God's leading and forethought. He went there, we prayed, as we always do in these things, that God will go before us. In this one, He did. And in remarkable ways, I can testify that He was there ahead of us and working with us all the time. This was a miraculous time and a time of strong leading, and I hope we get a chance to share some of those in the service that's coming. If I can just give you one memory. When we arrived, it was bucketing rain, and it had been raining for 2 weeks. And when I inquired of the locals, they said the wet season has started. Now, if you can figure out how you can get an audience with no shelter in the middle of open spaces in a wet season, that's what we were up against. The platform where we spoke from was undercover, beautifully. It was all decorated like as if the speaker was a king. But the only place where the audience could be was standing out there, and if it was raining, it was with an umbrella. And I thought to myself, how in the world can you expect people to come along and stand in the rain and listen to an evangelistic sermon? And I almost said the wrong thing on the first night because I questioned the people. How can you do that? But I bit my tongue, and they said, that's the way we do it in Vanuatu. And for the rest of that time, Katie, anybody that knows Katie, she's a strong, outgoing, faith-filled believer. And she prayed every day, as we all did, that just as Elijah stopped the rain, we serve the same God, and we asked Him that not a drop fall between 6 and 9 o'clock. And that's the way it went. On one particular night, I remember, the rain began again at 10 past 9. There was only one time when it really bucketed rain and washed out a meeting, but that wasn't the devil working, it was God. And I don't have... Well, yes, I can just take this moment. One night was washed out for Joseph, one of the speakers. We ran 3 sites. And I went ahead in the rain with nobody and just preached to the trees. Joseph said, nah, it's a waste of time. And he filled that time in on Saturday night. We finished on Saturday with a baptism, but he says, I've got to go back and I've got to preach this service. Much against his wife's will. She was in holiday mode on Saturday night and didn't want to do any more. But he went ahead and preached. He had a terrific audience, and at the end he asked his wife Katie to do an appeal. She did an appeal, and she probably went for a quarter of an hour on that appeal. She was way out of her comfort zone, but she said, what the heck, we're here, this is the last night, I'll never see these people again, I'm just going to keep going. And in the end, and this is where I've got to come to, 6 people came forward on that night to give their lives to Jesus or to be baptized, and they were from my site. So I'd missed them completely, but Katie picked them up on the Saturday night because the rain washed out the Wednesday before. So it wasn't the devil that prevented us. It was the mark of the beast that we were presenting, and the locals all said, oh, we always have trouble when we present the mark of the beast. Well, it wasn't the devil. That was part of God's leading. That's enough. We might cover it. I'm hoping we've got some pictures coming a little later in the service, but this morning it's time to get started. There are a few more here now. So welcome everybody for a second time. Glad that you're here. We've got a pretty special Sabbath school this morning because a great friend of mine is here to tell us about his specialty on health. Malcolm Ray is known possibly to some of you as Ben's dad. So Malcolm, please come on up here. Malcolm is the health director for the Great East Sydney Conference. Thank you. And Malcolm, we're just going to hand this time to you. And the last time I heard you was about 2 years ago when we were meeting in the Linwood Centre.
Yes.
And I enjoyed that so much. I'm looking forward again.
Thank you. I have one here. Yeah. Thank you. Morning, everyone. All of us have some level of health. And so for the next 50 minutes, we want to talk about health because it affects all of us personally. And sometimes we don't think about it. That's when things are going well. But when we lack health, when we have illness and sickness, then we get desperate because we want to be able to function normally and feel great again. And so today we're going to share some of those secrets, and we're going to share some of God's dream for us. What does God really want for us? And, of course, it's a balanced picture of health, and He wants the very best for us. And so that's what we're going to do. Just before I begin my presentation, I want to just share a few minutes of the Adventist course. The Adventist people have been around for 160 years, and they are a special people who have an interest in health. Adventists worldwide, they often model health. And in fact, I did a health administration studies at New South Wales University in Sydney, and one of our textbooks, there were several pages written about Adventist lifestyle, and it said, this is an ideal that many of us are not prepared to live up to, but it is an ideal lifestyle. And this is in one of the textbooks. And the School of Health Administration at New South Wales University was set up because of a major donation by the Kellogg's Foundation, a name which came out of Adventism in those early years. So let's just put the video on just for a sec, and we'll just play a short